Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream. My name is Chuck Tomasi, and I am here to bring you another episode of questions, answers, thought process that goes in behind that. As I mentioned, my name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior TPMM at ServiceNow. I'm the guy who wears the bow tie. Yep, that one. And I not only give you the answers to questions I find in the community, but the thought process that goes on that so that you can take those skills to your organization and become a more effective ServiceNow administrator and or developer. Let's get started with the pre-roll. First up is YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Don't forget to, I'm going to do a quick refresh. Seems that we may be broadcasting two streams at the same time, and I'm not seeing mine. This may be a new thing for YouTube. We'll find out. I am streaming. I am recording, so we'll find out. I don't have any way to interact with you at the moment, so we'll see what happens here. But if you go to the link there, subscribe, get your notifications, turn on notifications like this one, you will get a notification just like you see on my screen there that says, hey, we are live. We also do this on Twitch. Get this going. Still getting my fingers used to the, put that away, used to new control pad that I've got that has hot buttons for all of these keys. So instead of driving keyboard macros, I'm now driving buttons for most of this. New toys, gotta have fun. So go over to Twitch. You can watch that as a backup copy, if you will. And we look forward to seeing you there. Remember to like the videos if you see something you like, whether this is in YouTube directly or in the community post that you see afterwards. Mark it helpful so that other people know that there is some useful information. If you've got comments, certainly comment. And of course, subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know when the stream is live. So the developer portal, want to encourage you to go there, is over at developer.servicenow.com, where you can get a free personal developer instance, all the scripting APIs, lots of free learning plans. I'm going to do a quick refresh on that page. It seems to be stuck for whatever reason. Get a New York instance. So New York is our latest release as of the recording of this. You can find out all the features on that. Get your all the learning that you do, I mentioned, is there, totally free. Lots and lots of good information. Scripting APIs, early release on the latest release, so you've got that access as well. Good stuff over at developer.servicenow.com. You can also find the meetups. Let's get that over at meetup.com / sorry, I'm getting used to where the placement of this actually is. That's a better place. Okay. Over at meetup.com/pro/ServiceNow dev program. A few more chapters since I did my last video. We are up to 56, almost 19,000 people around the world. Get together with people, like-minded people, talk about ServiceNow developer concepts, ideas, projects you've been working on, latest release features, what's working, what's not. And looking forward to meeting some of you as we do our Now at Work series around the globe. I will be in DC, Frankfurt, and Sydney. So if you happen to be at any of those events, we will be having a developer meetup in Sydney and DC. There's no chapter near Frankfurt, so maybe there's an opportunity for somebody to start one in the next, few weeks. Maybe that'll be our inaugural meetup is a meetup right before the Frankfurt Now at Work session. Who knows? If you're in that area and you're interested in starting up a ServiceNow developer chapter, let us know. There's a link on meetup.com for you to do that. Otherwise, look for a chapter in your area and certainly join. Get involved with that. Very, very good stuff. Other events that you can find are over at servicenow.com/events. I mentioned Now at Work. It's on there, the full schedule, whether it's in the Americas, APAC, or where else? Trying to remember. NZ. That's it. Australia, New Zealand. Or was that APAC? No, I can't remember. Europe. Sorry, I go to the page all the time and I just forget what those three major sections are. So events all over the place, whether it's webinars or traveling roadshows like we've got with Now at Work. Certainly go over to servicenow.com/events. And if you want to find out more, there's even more stuff that I'm socializing on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn and you will see numerous announcements a day, many of them events related, some of them news related, lots and lots of social media stuff coming out on that. Also want to remind you that Knowledge 2020 is coming up. If you missed Knowledge 19 or you want to go back and relive some of the memories, the videos are available over at knowledge.servicenow.com. I need to update this slide because it has changed and I've got a better message for you. Knowledge 2020 is May 3rd through 7th in Orlando, Florida this year at the Orange County Convention Center. So going back to the same place we were in 2017. If you were there, you'll know your way around. If not, it's big, long building. It's very easy to find. The hotels are a bit scattered around the Orlando area, so we will have shuttles going between all of the hotel venues and the main conference center. So lots of great information at Knowledge, hands-on workshops, networking opportunities, get together with meetups, speaker sessions. Most of the speaker sessions, I think it's something like 80 or 90%, are presented by customers. So this isn't just ServiceNow telling you all about what's new in the latest release. There's some of that, but a lot of it is, hey, how do I leverage that? What's the best way to do this? How have other people done this? Certainly stop by the show floor, ask questions. Product managers will be there. Solution consultants will be there to answer your questions and guide you through. We've got the CreatorCon area that's a very open and creative way for developers, such as myself, to express their use of ServiceNow in creative ways. You probably remember Lickerbot from Jason McKee a couple of years ago, and he had the kegerator. This is all tied into ServiceNow using things like predictive intelligence to determine when the keg of beer is going to run out so they can get another one. You wouldn't want to run out of beer at a happy hour. That would be a bad thing. So knowledge.servicenow.com. Sign up is not open yet, but it isn't too early to start talking to your boss about a budget, and there are links on that site to get your organization thinking about it so you can show the value of that. I am still not seeing this. I'm probably conflicting with a live stream. Give me just 1 second. You know what it might be? No, I'm looking for videos. Might be that I'm just using the wrong account. Who knows? Well, I apologize that I can't interact with anybody who may or may not be watching live right now. But we'll get that taken care of. I appreciate it nonetheless. I'm going to forget about that for a moment and go on and let you know that our next TechNow webinar is on October 22nd. We're calling these TechNow Tuesday, and our theme on this one is going to be all around guided app creator. This came out in the New York release, so it is a new feature. You can register at the link at the bottom, TN69Reg over at bit.ly/TN69Reg. We'll get to that information. It is October 22nd, 8 a.m. Pacific time or 11 a.m. Eastern time, whatever time zone that is in your area of the world. Don't think that's before everybody else switches clocks. I can't be sure. Whatever it is. So we look forward to seeing you there, walking you through Guided App Creator and the new easy step-by-step process for creating applications on the Now platform. Also welcoming we hope he's there. We're still working on a schedule conflict that may be interfering with this, but Jeremy Duncan is our newest team member that will be joining us. So he had a bit of a voice on the September one where he walked through the Advanced Service Portal application. We did a teardown of Jeopardy, if you remember that. If you haven't, you can go find that, again, over at ServiceNow.com. There's some on-demand videos. There's also, you can find that on our YouTube channel over at the community. Which brings us to any code that we write today will be available on GitHub. If you want to see that, you can go over to bit.ly/sn-cls. If we write any script, I will post it there. It is in a dated folder. So today's would be 2019-0930. We'll see what happens there. And I look forward to seeing you there. If we've got any code, you can take it, modify, make it, break it, make it your own, see what happens. That's how I got started years and years and years and years and decades ago. I would take examples that were in a book, a hard copy printed spiral bound book, and I would type them in and then I would start modifying them to see what happens. Great way to learn. Great way to learn in a safe environment on your personal developer instance. Also want to give a quick reminder that the JavaScript series, if you are a person who is new to JavaScript or you've been scripting and you want to know more about the ServiceNow platform, you can find this over at bit.ly/sn-learnjs at the link at the bottom and learn more about ServiceNow, learn more about JavaScript. This is targeted to people who want to know more about the JavaScript language. It is not meant to be our entire scripting course. This is a prep for that scripting course so that you can then get into more things around glide system, glide record. I do touch on those because they are intricate and show some good examples of how you can do these basic operations. But we'll take you from everything from basic syntax through a scripted REST API, believe it or not. It's not that complex once you're shown the steps, and follow along. You can try these on your personal developer instance. There are some challenge exercises along the way that I invite you to try. This came out in July and has been getting some good comments, good views. So thank you very much for watching that. Pass that on. If you're an administrator looking to become a ServiceNow developer, this is a great way to do that. I've had people walk up to me and say, hey, Chuck, I had 3 people working on ServiceNow. 2 of them were developers and I'm the admin. Now the 2 developers are gone. What do I do? Here's a great way to step into that and get started. So go over to bit.ly/sn-learnjs and you can get started on your JavaScript ServiceNow developer journey. How's that for a plug? All right, let's get into the community now that I have gone on enough about that. Let's start with a refresh on the screen. We'll see what happens. What's been happening lately? I like to jump in with this with some unreplied questions. So, creating entity class mandatory. That's a GRC question. I don't do GRC too much. I'm not a subject matter expert in that area. Oftentimes, I will dig into these areas where I'm not an SME for curiosity or to see if it's something platform related. My specialty lies in the platform, custom applications, integrations, that sort of thing. Good base knowledge that I have about the platform. But when it comes to these specialized applications like GRC or like SecOps, probably not going to be able to help too much. I can touch on a few topics that I've had experience with, but that is not one of them. So if I skip over some of these, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I just don't have anything to contribute in there. How to restore my dev instance 55007. There is a restore feature when you go to claim a new instance. However, you do need to have a backup. And I thought backups were automatic. Dear ServiceNow team, this is in the instance help. I want to point that out. Let me see. Do I have my little cursor marker on? I got to make sure I have this so you can see where I'm pointing my cursor. It doesn't always come on after a reboot, and we've had a reboot recently. Try that again. Mouse locator. The mouse locator preference pane. System must quit. Yep, fine. Now, turn it on. I don't know why it does that, but it's just an interesting thing. Okay, so if I am, he's an instance help. Perfect. If you have a question, make sure you put it in the right community in the ServiceNow community. So if you've got a developer question, it would go in developer. If you've got a question on your instance help is the best place to go. In fact, the developer portal, when you have a question, there's a big link or button. It says, do you need help? Click here and it will take you right to the instance help. So I've been working on this instance for more than a year, and today it got reclaimed, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure I generated activity in the last 10 days. Follow the instructions for restore PDI, where it is explained how to restore PDI from backup. The problem is that when I hit the restore button, there are no available backups. I saw this also, and I want to know the answer to this. Not that I have an instance that needs restoring, but every time I go to restore something that used to run, I don't have any instance. I don't know what the deal is. Are we not doing backups? So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I don't have an answer, but maybe I could throw a comment in there as well. I noticed this also. I'm subscribing to this article to keep an eye on it for the future. I don't know what the deal is. In fact, I could upvote that too. Click. That's a good way to say, yes, I'm interested in this as well. Click. Well, maybe you can't post and reply and upvote at the same time. What the deal is with backups not being available. Now, sometimes people have multiple accounts. Speaking of accounts, I wanted to show you something. So it is upvoted. Okay, good. I want to show you something. If you go to your community profile, in case you missed the news, we have a new community profile banner. This is a centralized profile. So we're now able to track training you've completed from the online training. We can track community achievements, as you see here, helpful answers, levels in the community. it's all the same profile. So if I go over to, say, the developer portal and look at my profile, come on, where is it? I don't think it's under change password. No, that's not what I want. It was under docs. I know, I saw it somewhere. Anywho, the profiles are the same across these different sites, and you will see an aggregated collection of this information. You only need to do it once. Nice thing about this is you can use this as sort of your ServiceNow profile for LinkedIn. If you want to show people achievements, you could link to this and say, here's where you can find out what I have accomplished on ServiceNow. Pretty cool idea. I'm liking it. Still filling in some of the blanks myself. So want to point that out to you that it's available in there. We do have a couple of questions in the inbox. Let me answer those real quick and see what I can bring you up to speed on the discussions that were happening. Come on. Now that the inbox is working more to my liking. He was asking, it says, why am I not able to see the contract rel CI table in my ServiceNow instance? It's on the table box, I guess. And I said, could you explain what you're expecting to see? What is the issue? What do you expect to see? Actually, I was facing the issue with the plugin, which was not installed anyways. I fixed that. That's what I was going to say. When I went to, after I responded to this, I went to the documentation and I typed in contract rel CI just to see what tables it would come up with. Sometimes tables are defined in here, sometimes they're not. And I noticed things like vendor credit. This looks like IT service management and vendor performance management, as you can see right down here. And then I looked at some other things. It looked like it was mainly around vendor performance management, contracts to vendors. If you don't have the plugin turned on, yes, then it's not going to show up. We don't install all the tables for everything. So ideally, what we need is the name of the plugin turned here. It says I turned on a plugin. Okay, I was just going to say that this table appears to be part of vendor management. So you can do a little detective work. That is not an out-of-box table. It is included with the plugin, as you discovered. And if you really want to know what the plugin name is called, let's go back to Docs and see Vendor Management Plugin. See what it says. Incident, problem. Search is letting me down today. Let's just look for vendor. Let's see what happens. It's twice my searches have let me down. Amazon was not being good to me. Oh, well, it helps if you spell things correct. Installed with vendor ticketing, understanding vendor risk management, maybe. Activate. Where I saw it, vendor managers. And sometimes when you get close, you can just go down the left side and say, activate vendor performance. Ding, 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 ding. System definition of plugins. Find the name of the plugin. There we are. So demo data. And respond to the article. You know what? I didn't get that link the right way. I just got the link. I want the HTML link. Thank you, Chrome extension helper. So, follow up to an earlier discussion. We got one more in here. My client script is not working in Service Portal. Okay, very vague description about, complete with the script, you can see that. But the description of what I can sort of suss out what it's supposed to do. gform.modified, didn't know that was there. If it's an on submit, then you would think something was modified. I don't know why that's necessary, but interesting property to note. They're going through and doing some parsing and cleaning up, getting something, and they said it's not working. It's a bit like Dr. It Hurts When I Do This. So picture of the client script settings. It's an on submit. I said, what is it doing? What is it not doing? Have you checked the logs? Basic debugging stuff that was not present in this discussion. So the reply came back and said, I want to check it on submit script. Check if a field contains or not some characters in the input text field. Otherwise, in the on change is in the same script but works, strange or not. Now, in the console, nothing happened, and the console.log does not work because it doesn't enter into the different if statement. Looks like gmodified doesn't work in Portal. Interesting. Take a look at that. First I learn about a property, then I learn more about it. I'm trying to prevent a user from submitting a catalog form. Lots more threads. Thanks for the link. Came across this already. The unsupported client script doesn't seem to work always. Okay. That doesn't... Is it just me or does gform.modify not work in the portal? Looks like that might be an issue. I mark that helpful because we learned about gmodified. Interesting, interesting. Let's go back here, refresh the screen. Something has happened. I'm sure of it. Let's get the unreplied questions. Report on logins that accounts for the service portal. So let's find out what they want. We regularly pull back roles and therefore licenses from users who have not logged into the platform for 45 plus days. We do not have a way to account for folks who are only logging into the service portal and interacting with the system from an end user POV though. Those folks slip through the cracks and retain roles and associated licenses and costs. Anyone built a solution for this, hoping not to reinvent the wheel from what is likely a problem for every platform owner. I don't know that everybody audits like that, but I can give you a suggestion. One suggestion is to, you'd have to do that in the widget. I was thinking you could throw an event on your menu widget. One suggestion is to throw an event or create a log entry to search report in the server script of a widget like that found on the login page or menu or something see if I can spell this. Ubiquitous, not close. Close, but not got it. Ubiquitous, okay. Learn how to spell ubiquitous this morning. Something ubiquitous that will be sure to report someone logged in through the portal. I would do it through the server script. Just fire an event and say, hey, do you see this event? Or put a log entry in, or make a table and log things there. Say, Joe logged into the portal on Tuesday. That kind of thing. Not too difficult. All right, we'll see what comes back with that. We'll keep an eye on the inbox. How to add entire email to activity tab on a record. The entire email. What are we looking to do? Let's find out. Yes, I was curious, how do I add the entire email automatically to the activity tab on a record? Right now, it's just showing the field changes, but I'd like to, it's facility record. So the way you do this is, I'm going to go to my favorite incident table. And for that, I need to be in the global scope. Incident, we'll just take open incidents. This is my developer instance, which I got from developer.servicenow.com. Need to unplug this, otherwise we're going to have an echo problem. Oops, that wasn't it. This is there. I forgot to use the coin for answering a question. Down on the work notes, we see the activities. This is a formatter. And in the funnel, you can, I'm going to make that a little smaller so it actually renders correctly when I take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of that. Oops, now it's off the screen. Let's do this. Up and up, 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 up. Scroll, scroll, scroll. There. You want to make sure that sent and received emails is turned on. So let's reply to part of the activity formatter options. Make sure sent whatever it is. I'm going to paste the image because I can't remember what the exact wording is just from a few seconds ago. Sent/received emails. /received emails is checked. If it doesn't appear, you'll need to use the, configure available fields link. Configure available fields link to add it to the available options. Note, you need admin rights role to configure the available fields. Dun, 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 dun. Now I get to use the coin. There we are. Reply. That was fun. Let's go do another one for a few more minutes, and then I've got a deep dive topic. I've had a lot of things come up that I want to share with you. Can't do them all today, so we're going to have to spread them out. I'm doing training on nowlearning.servicenow.com. I have mistaken submit for simulator instance. Now I'm unable to access the simulator instance and anymore. How can it be reset to the old state? Any help will... Okay, that's in training certifications. Now I can deal with simulators. That's a topic that most of you probably won't get into. It's actually using a ServiceNow instance to give you an assessment of hands-on stuff. So if it says, hey, go create a table. If you don't follow the instructions, there is an assertion that comes along after you say, I'm done creating the table. It says, great, you made the table, the fields are right, the options are checked. It's just going through and checking your work and then allowing you to do the next step. If you don't get it right, it may or may not give you information on how to correct that or what you missed and say, all right, you didn't quite create the format of this form quite the way you were supposed to. There's a few things that are out of sync, and then go back and do that. So it is a temporary instance, much like a lab instance used for workshops, knowledge, training, that kind of thing. Creating entity class mandatory. That's a GRC thing again. I'm going to pass by that one. We already saw that. I said that at the top of the show. Service portal export, IT service management. Let's see. What do we have? Loading. Our service portal, when a user wants to export a request, he only gets the values of the requested for field or requests that concern him. But on the portal, he can see the data in the same field. Do what now? Okay. I didn't know we had exports for that. That's interesting. I don't normally do an export through Service Portal. Curious. So it's just sitting there on Service Portal, does an export of this. It's more than, can't be a permission issue. Otherwise, Service Portal would have rendered that differently. That is intriguing. That is very intriguing. I'm going to subscribe to that just to see what happens. How many people have looked at this and just passed it by? 4. So Chantal can see all of the records that belong to its request for Chantal, but you can't see the other ones. So there's something different. You know what it might be? It might be that the portal widget uses Glide Record and the export is using Glide Record Secure. That's going to be interesting because I don't believe you can modify the way that it exports. I would try it from the standard UI. Can you have the same person try the export from the classic/standard UI by going to, let's see, request table and doing an export there? Let me get a screenshot of what I'm talking about. So go here, sc request.list, screenshot. All right, that should be helpful. Paste, and then when you go to sc request.list and do configure, export Excel. Let's see what it says. I want to know if that's the same processor. I have a hunch, but I'm not going to document that yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Let us move along. 7:30, bottom of the hour. Let me dive into a topic that I want to show. Oh, there was one that I did before the cameras were rolling, and that is up here. I wanted to follow up on this. So they logged in and they have a blank, not funny, but a blank screen. You log in and boom, it's done. It says it's online, but nothing comes up. And I said, okay, I can also I can see the stats in my Madrid. So it's Madrid, it's online. Something was deleted or a property was set. Okay, nice information in here, good screenshots. And I said, can you get to the log? Check the logs. So if worse came to worse, let's say I couldn't get a log or a decent screen out of this. It's running this stuff after the URL. Can you get to syslog under list.do? And that should take you to no nav page renderer, no menus, no options, no dashboard, no nothing. Just a straight up list. Is there anything in there that might indicate a problem? That'd be the first place I check. So when in doubt, try the logs. Also might be the account. If you can check with a different account, see if there's something in there that may be amiss. Alrighty. What did I want for ideas? I had, well, this is interesting because this is not the list I was looking at earlier today. There. I had an instance where I needed to detect the difference. I'm going to bring up VS Code. We're going to do a little coding today. I've got an integration out to YouTube, and they have regional settings on their videos. So when you get the payload back, one of them would say, for example, it would return. Let's get a new screen up here. Come on, don't need the release notes today. It might come back with a string that looks like it's available in the US, Great Britain, and Japan. All right. That's what would be saved in the current record. Well, every night I go back and check this and say, hey, has anything changed on the record? And it comes back and says, yeah, only today it says this. Well, you and I as humans know that that's the same thing. It's just in a different order. But the computer, if you said, oh, did it change? Then we have to update the record. I want to get to the point where I recognize that and say, no, that's the same thing. So I started out with a function. Let's make the function, FNC function, and call it CSV equals, just to see if there's equality in there. And I'm going to pass it, let's just call it previous and current. Well, what the heck, let's call it S1 and S2. We'll call this one previous and current. So when we call it, we don't get our variables mixed up of who's global and who's, computer will be fine. Okay. Now, there were a couple approaches. One is I could turn this into an array, turn both of them into arrays, and examine the elements element by element. And then I thought, no, it's far easier to compare strings, isn't it? So what if you took the string, broke it into an array, sorted it, and then put it back into a string? Then we might have something. So let's do this. Step by step, we're going to take this and say, make an array that is string 1 split into commas. I'm going to condense this later, but I want to do it step by step so you understand what's going on. Then var A2 is going to be S2 split by commas. And that gives me the unique elements of those. Now what I can do is say A1 equals A1 dot sort, A2 equals A2 dot sort, and just for fun, let's see what we have at this point. A1 equals A1 dot, I'm going to use join just to be, if you just said A1, it will come out as comma separated. gs.info, but I like to be explicit in my array manipulations and designations and don't assume anything. All right, let's see what happens. Go to my personal developer instance, and under system, I have scripts background, run that, and I get nothing because I didn't call the function. CSV equal previous and current. Yeah, that helps. Copy that, go back, paste that, run it. Okay, they are now sorted. These are visually equal. So, but they're still arrays, and I would have to compare each element and the length and blah, just to say, are you really the same? So what I'd like to do is continue on after the sort and turn them back into strings. So say S1 equals A1.join by commas, and then say S2 equals A2.join with commas. Now I have two strings. And if I switch this around to say string 1 and string 2, it sounds like Dr. Seuss now. We don't need the join because we just did that. We don't need the join because we just did that. Change that to, get rid of the backslash, change that to string 2, copy, paste, back up, paste, run. Now they are strings. They look just the same, but they are not. Two different types of entities. Let's go back to our code. Now it's easy enough to say if S1 equals S2. Come on, S1 equals S2, then return true, else return false. So up here, if I can say, are these two strings equal? Let's just put them in a GS info. Are these two equal? And add on the result of that function that it returns, and I will never get to here. In fact, I don't even need an else. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just take that off, move that over, crazy spacey thing, and clean up that. There we are. So I have a fairly straightforward function, but I want to show you a couple of things that'll make that even easier. I can get this down to one line. Are these two equal true? Okay, let's give it a case where they are not the same. Change this one to like AZ. I don't even know what country code that is, but now they are not true. Excellent. Let's put in JP and then AZ. Are they the same there? You and I know they're not. Looks like it's working. Let's change up the order again and say maybe it's not US JP, maybe it's JP US. Of course, the sort is going to demystify that for us and says, these are the same. Come on, you can't fool me. So how can we make this a little cleaner? There's a lot of very explicit stuff going on here to say, do I have the array? Did I split it? You could inject GS info statements all over the place just to double check your work. But once it's working, there's actually better ways to do this. I could, in fact, take the output of the split and sort that right away, because it's going from left to right, which would be that way on the monitor. Got to do that right. And I can chain these methods, getting rid of that part. Let's make sure it still works. Okay. Now, I have A1 becoming a sorted array, which I then join. Let's try that. I'm going to do this step by step. This is very much what I did when I was coding it up. I always start very deliberate, very explicit, and with my chained split and sort, it says, yep, these are still true. Give it a bogus example. Maybe that's Jakarta. I don't know. They're not the same. Good. Still working. Could I do the same thing for the join? The answer is yes, because the output of the sort is still going to be an array, which I can then join. So let's put that on to create the strings. Only now I'm not saving it into an array. I don't even need the array. The array was only used to store the temporary split. It's doing that in memory. So let's just forget that. Make sure you get your data types right. Now, if I had called them var A1 and A2, they would actually be strings, but the name implies that they are arrays. So I'm going with this. It's getting shorter and shorter, all because I can chain these things together. It says, take S1, split it apart, then sort that array, then put it back together with commas. Like, all in memory, all in one step. Let's make sure it still works. It's getting shorter. Still works there. Let's give it a bad example. JA. Are these the same? No, these are not the same. Excellent. Okay. How can we clean this up even further? Well, do we even need to store the result? Not really. We could, in fact, say, instead of storing it and then comparing it, let's just do it and then compare it at the same time. So this works more like that. We're getting shorter. Okay. The script is getting shorter. It's also getting a little harder to read, so keep that in mind. But for a utilitarian function like this, where you're just comparing two things, oddly enough, this doesn't exist in array-util. I looked. I was going to say, hey, this would be really nice if you could check equality. So still equals there. Make that a mess and check it again. Still working the way I expect. However, this whole if thing really doesn't need to be there. You could simply return the result because it's doing an equality. This is a Boolean expression, whether it's inside an if or not. It says, does this equal this, true or false? That's all you're going to get. So if it is equal, you can simply return that result. We now have a nice one-line function. Watch those curly braces, they'll sneak up on you. Oh, I hit save. Well, I guess we do want to save that. So let's save that down in our folder. That's my Learn JavaScript folder. Where did my... Oh, I thought I had a shortcut on here. Now community, SN livestream, new folder, 2019 09-30. Happy September 30th. End of the month, everybody. And we will call this CSV equals. Now, if I were passing this, I don't need a tag on there. Thanks. I don't know how that happened. JS. If I had passed it arrays, I could easily check those as well. These are passing strings. As you can obviously see, they are strings. If I was passing arrays, I could do the exact same thing. I just wouldn't need to split them. Just you check the length first. That's an easy thing to do. You don't have to go through the sorting and the joining. But then come back and if they are the same length, you could sort them and join them and say, now are they the same? So you could, in fact, have this function call another one that does the array comparison. Once you've split the two into arrays, that might be a way to do it. Then you've got two functions at the same time. So my example there would look more like function array equals. Let's do that just for fun. I haven't done this yet. If I can spell, array equality can be checked with array1 and array2. Very poorly named, but I don't run into any keyword examples like that. And I can say, look, you've already got, I want to call the function CSV equals, return CSV equals, because it already has all the logic I want. If I just take, here, let's do this. First, I want to check the length. If a1.length not equal to a2.length, we know they are not the same, and you can just return a big old false. Done. However, if they are the same, then you need to check the contents, which you can do with a1.join by commas. That's passing a string. And a2.join commas. There you are. I took one function and made two by adding just a couple lines of code and say, look, you've got an array. This thing is expecting strings. Let's just make strings. Yes, I'm doing a join that can then be split apart and then sorted. I could have reversed this by having CSV equal call array equals, which might be a little smarter if I want to undo that one step. So another option would be to call it the other way and say, look, if you are passed, we could call array equals up here if I had arrays first. Or the strings could say, first you split, then call array equals. Yeah, that might be a better way to do it. You could say var a1 equals s1.split. That way you're really only doing one join through this whole thing. Var a2 equals s2.split. And then instead of this, we would be doing, I'm going to copy this down here because this is really what wants to do the equality check. Okay. So it's going to call return the result of array equals a1 and a2. So the first function, even though I call it the same way, is up there. Array equals a1, a2 says, do the lengths match? If they do, then we're going to simply take a1, sort it, a2, sort it, turn it back to a string, compare those two strings, and be on our merry way. So now I've got two functions I can use, even though I'm calling one up here. Let's try it out. I have to test it before I publish it. These two are equal. Thank goodness it's still working. Let's see if JA is still working. So CSV equal is calling array equals and then going on with that. We could also do it this way. Let's test a couple of arrays. Var we'll just call it list1 for lack of imagination. We'll call it Chuck, Craig, and we need somebody else. Dave will be our list1. Var list2 will be Craig, Dave, and Chuck. So those are arrays of strings. They could be arrays of numbers. I don't care. And then we will call these two CSV. Let's use proper English. CSV equal, or close approximation to it. And then I could say, are these two lists equal? Very much array equals, this one's plural, poorly named, list1, list2. Now I've got a function that calls another function, very easy to do, and I can determine equality among the arrays. I probably should have copied all that back in. Let's do a save as. I want that as a different example. Let's save that one as array equals.js. Run it, and it says, yes, Dave, Chuck, Craig lists are equal, but if I say Charlie on the second one, it's going to say, no, that's not the same. So very, very simple processes to use when you start chaining things together, especially when you understand what's an array and what's a string, what have I got, what can I pass, what comes next, that kind of thing makes these very, very powerful. You don't have to have 15 statements to, first let's disjoint this thing, then let's put it back together in a different order. It's not necessary. Granted, as I mentioned before, it might be a little harder for a beginner to read, but when it's small utilitarian stuff like this, it's not that big of a deal. So I leave you with that, and I had another idea that I wanted to cover. Don't go away, don't go away. That was from there. Where's my notes? Oh, I'm on that instance. Here's something that I use a lot. As I develop an application and I'm building out the functionality and the script includes, I unit test those functions as I'm building them. Script includes are sort of my atomic building blocks for any application. Insert a record, update a record, transform this data from rows and columns to columns and rows. Just whatever it is, I want to make sure that it does that little piece. If I were going to put these functions into a script include, I would have written a test function very much like this. Only I wound up with a notebook full of these scripts. And eventually, a reboot happens or the upgrade happens, something, and those notes are all gone. Not that I really value them 6 months or a year later, but they're really nice little examples to keep my eye on. And as I'm doing that development, if I were to change the data model in some way, I want to go back and unit test all of those things again, just to make sure I didn't break something. Maybe I changed this CSV equal from doing all the work to doing some of the work and handing it off to array equals. Okay, that's a change in my functionality that I need to test. What I did is just set up a real simple script table that looks like this. It has a name, it has a function, a script. That's it, just someplace that I can store these. You may have, whether they're active, what application they're related to, track whatever you want. But it's just a little simple storage place. I don't even think it's scoped. Let me check. So name, show u underscore name, probably not. U underscore test script. It's a global table, so I don't have to worry about who can read from it and who can write to it and who can use it. Later, if you wanted to make some unit testing, you could actually run these scripts using Glide Scoped Evaluator, make yourself a little test application to test those out. That's up to you if you want to take it to that next level. Chris Malloy did at one point. I think it's still out there on Share as his unit testing app. You can look into that. But now, here's that function that I had before. I could just say, hey, has the region changed? Now, my logic is a little different to say, yes, the region changed, because I wanted to come back and say, those are not equal. You get a true back if they're not equal, because the name of the function was really called region changed. I later changed it back to CSV equals. And then I could say, look, if they're not CSV equals, you can do that. So keep in mind that the name of your function drives the logic. It actually stumbled me up a bit because I said, hey, has the region changed? And it said false. And I clearly had two different strings in there. But yes, the region did change. And I was like, oh, I'm checking for equality. Yes, they are not equal, is what it was saying. So I want to say that they're not Boolean logic. It'll get you every time. That's how that goes. So test scripts, handy little application just to manage those wherever I put that thing. There it is. I just threw it under my system favorites. The other one, do I have time to do another one? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Yes, I definitely wanted to point this one out. I was writing an inbound action. This intrigued me because I had, what was it, in the system logs? What was happening is I was getting an inbound email, and when I would forward it manually from Gmail, it would come out just fine. I had about 7 or 8 links in that mail. Worked fine. I said, great. Let's change this from a forward in my inbound action. Let's take a look at this as an example. And I'm creating records out of there. So I want to take those links and create records with them. Come on. Come on. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Take a sip of tea. Still very delicious. Coming up to the top of the hour. Demo gods are not happy with me right now. And we get something that looks like this. I put in some debug statements because what I got is originally this was body underscore text, which we're all familiar with using from the online example in the docs, which is over here. And I say inbound email actions. Okay, and the examples out of the box have things like, oh, let's see, there are some examples in here. Created a request from inbound email. I may have missed it. Let's try that again. I know I saw it yesterday. There were some examples in here. Inbound email, update setting field values, inbound email actions. I believe it's under that header. Click that. And there we are, inbound email action examples, to which we've all seen something like this. And it uses, that is not in the best of formatting, but I will bring that out to here. Now we can read it a little bit better. And you can see in here it uses the, actually this one doesn't, email text. There we are. So it puts in the comments reply from and then the email body text. What I didn't realize was that it is stripping out all the HTML. Well, in order to automate, I put a rule into Gmail that says if you see mail with this subject from this party, forward it to my instance. It was forwarding, and oddly enough, when it stripped out all the email, it stripped out all the content too. I had about 6 lines of content instead of the 400 or 500 of HTML. And I said, that's not right. Also, oddly enough, nowhere in here could I find any reference to body underscore text. In the email object, the email object was not defined. Come on, search for it. Search for it. Okay, it references an example to it, but it doesn't tell you what else is available in the email. Okay, email setup, including email headers, body text attachments, body underscore text. Another one for problem, email client template. It's not in there. So what I ended up doing is looking on the developer portal, which is over here, and saying, what do you know about email.bodyUnderText? Because I thought maybe there's a property, maybe there's a setting on the email that says, don't turn that off. And I found in the training section, oddly enough, parsing an inbound email example. Credit to whoever wrote this, because it said you have email.to, email direct, copied. These are defined here. I would love to see these more in the docs section, but it is kind of a developer thing. Well, looky here. Email body text contains the body of an email as a plain text string. Email body HTML is the HTML string. Warning, 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 Will Robinson. If you do what this example showed, where you were putting, this example, where they were putting this into current comments, if you swapped out body text for body HTML, you will get all the HTML and your activity formatter will probably go blah, because you may have colors and just weird stuff going on. So try to avoid putting the HTML into your comments or anywhere that's going to be presented on the form. It could really make your form ugly. It might even break something. We don't know if the wrong div tag is turned off or on or something. So when you're putting it into the comments, only put text, because comments is not an HTML field, but if it stores HTML, it will render HTML. I needed this for parsing purposes. So when I changed mine to body HTML down here, it worked fine. The other one was just for debug. I had everything I needed to parse. So body under text and body HTML from the email object on these incoming. My next question is, now that we have New York and we can process these from Flow Designer, do I have access to the same objects? That I'm going to have to answer offline with one of our product managers and then come back and find out if it actually works. I haven't checked it yet, but that's my next question because I really, really, really want to get this content into a flow and not in a script for maintainability. So that brings us to the top of the hour. If I can get that going. There, hey, magic button worked. Top of the hour. Thank you for joining us. Again, if you found something helpful on this video, click the like button, click helpful in the community, share it with friends. I don't know. Add comments, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, happy coding, everybody. Wish you all the best and take care. Bye.